Hello and welcome to Mosaic and Craft.
Hi everyone, and we're joined by Amelia today, the evil munchkin who might mutter in the background.
Okay. So we thought today what might be a good thing to think about is our journey with craft so far. We're 4 months in, and just thinking about what the challenges have been, what the benefits have been, and really whether we're in a different place to where we were when we first started the channel.
That's it, and just a bit of a heads up, it's extremely hot today, so if I start melting and disappearing in the background, that's because I'm like a snowman in the sun.
Yes, and just have a carrot for your nose, please.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Okay, so I think it's fair to say that we still continue to get on to talk about these.
Definitely, yeah. So it's kind of, like I said, it's new to us from about 4 months ago now, and we started with our youngest, and then we also at the same time decided, you know what, why do things half-heartedly, and we jumped in with our toddler as well.
I mean, the preparation period is very much, I was getting nappies, and even before Amelia was born, our eldest, who was just so excited, and we all going, oh wow, I like this, can I have this? So we ended up just putting him in them as well, and been getting practice on a 2-year-old at the same time as starting with a newborn. So it's been an interesting journey, hasn't it?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Dive in with both feet and all that.
And I think some of the things that we found is that I think we're still in a position where we pretty much change our mind which our favourites are, don't we? We don't have any set where we're like, this is absolutely the only brand and the only type of nappy we will use. We have just so many different styles. We have some all in ones, all in twos, pockets, 2-part systems. And I'd say the only thing that I would say categorically is that my most trusted combination, if I know that I'm going out somewhere for a really long time, or if it's overnights, is I will opt for a 2-part system generally, won't I? So we'll use like a bamboo nappy, maybe a hemp booster, and then a waterproof wrap on the outside, and that's a very trusted combination, isn't it?
Yeah, it seems to work for obviously those long-term periods and everything, which is really handy.
And I think really overall, we've had some of the challenges have probably just been sort of trying to make sure we're doing things absolutely right. We've had panics at various times around whether the wash routine has been appropriate. We've tried different powders and things, haven't we? And we've done like different approaches of different types of pre-wash, whether cool or 30 is a pre-wash, or 40, and then like doing the main wash at 60 and at 40 at various times to just kind of tweak and find combinations that work for us, haven't we?
Definitely, yeah. And just mention there the cleaning side of things. So with a toddler, it can get not smelly, but especially in the summer at the moment when they're drinking a lot and there's a lot of urine come in, it can get smelly if you don't do the washing right. So having to change up depending on, I guess, time of year really is kind of a major factor that you don't really think about when you go into this. You think, you know what, you're going to get into that wash cycle, you're going to know what you're doing, but then suddenly the weather changes and their habits change, and not so much for newborns, but definitely for toddlers or for those older children.
Yeah, and I think the thing for me that has absolutely thrown me is that obviously he's in that intermittent stage where he's got nearer the sort of toilet training mark, and then he regresses back and forth. And so for me, the part sometimes takes me by surprise is that he'll sometimes seemingly have the bladder control, and you think, oh, well, that's well, then other times he just doesn't seem to have any at all. So it's just sort of like you don't know if you're going to get a dryish nappy or one that's absolutely saturated. So we've had various combinations, haven't we, that we've tried.
Oh yes.
And I think with a newborn, probably the thing we're finding is that she's now at the stage where she's growing out of like the smaller newborn size, isn't she? And she's more comfortably fitting the birth to potty ones. I mean, we didn't get a huge amount of newborn and small nappies anyway, did we?
Yeah, I appreciate it. That's definitely one of the learns that we've had is obviously we didn't get many newborn nappies, and I would say, in hindsight, getting the newborn ones, there's not really a massive need to do so, because these go so small. The birth to potties, they literally are birth, and they do. Yeah, for us they have worked really well. And she wasn't a huge baby when she first came along. So we started, was it 3 weeks after she was born? 2 weeks after. So you know what, you could get away with not getting the newborn ones. I would say you're going to be safe with cloth pretty much straight away.
Although, I don't know, I think it varies dependent on the baby, because she's got quite chunky thighs, hasn't she?
Very chunky thighs.
And actually, I have a different view on that, because I really like the newborn ones. I like how cute they are, and my view is that if I had known more going into it, I might have got some of the newborn ones with the umbilical cord thing, because for me that was the thing. And I didn't want to be putting her in a nappy that was going to cover her umbilical cord, and I didn't realise until basically after she was born that I could have bought more which had the umbilical cord part open. So, you know, I've actually loved that one. I wish I'd got more of that particular style when she was first born, because then wouldn't have worried. I waited because she lost her umbilical cord at a week in, and then I was just like, right, I need to make sure it's not so swollen, because some of even the newborn nappy still covered that umbilical cord. I wanted to be able to fold the nappy down and air, and that's why we were using some disposables to some extent at the start, weren't we? So we could keep checking and folding down the nappy at the front. And I think my learning would be that I'd have probably got a few of the newborn ones which have the fold down bit, because she does still fit them just about. So I think it is a worthwhile investment, and you can then sell them on afterwards as well. And they're just so cute, and they're really trim on her. So I have a slightly different view on that.
Fair enough.
But I do agree that if you get like a really good birth to potty one that has crossover poppers and a few different risers, and most of these are sufficient in our experience anyway, unless your baby is really, really small or is prem, I think that in a lot of cases, you know, correctly fitting them does work. And I think sometimes it's more that you might not be confident fitting them, or you might have a few blunders early on that would make you think perhaps that they're not as effective as what they could be.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And I think, you know, if I also think about some of my learning around it, it's just sort of thinking, I wish I'd done cloth sooner with Logan as well, our eldest, because
definitely, it's again, it's kind of going back to that thing when we first got into it. From my point of view, I was expecting them just to be absolutely awful, and you conjure up all these nightmare images about awful cleaning and awful stains and just spillages all over the place. But in reality, I would say they are as easy as disposables. So, you know, that fear factor went away very quickly, and there can be a lot to learn, but you can make it easy by getting things like all-in-ones to simplify it. And actually, once you get used to what sort of boosters and everything go inside, it's really easy, and the children love them. They're a good talking point, they're eco-friendly, and they do ultimately, you know, we're at that stage now where we had a few disposables for her to start off with, and we've barely touched them. And you just look at how much money we're now saving, even though there's that outlay at the start, the money saving later on, and then the ability to resell them afterwards. Definitely, like Sarah said, if we'd have started sooner, it would have been much better.
And I just think that lesson that we learned is we sort of had this panic of, we thought, oh, we should try to use some of these disposables we've got, and you to put one on to go to the seaside, hadn't you, on Amelia.
And it exploded.
And it was just, it just reinforced us how much more economical cloth is, because we hadn't had explosions like that with the cloth nappy. So don't get me wrong, you have the occasional slight leak, and if like I know if I get distracted sometimes I'll go over some of the times and not realise, and there can be miscommunication where you forget to change in between. And when that happens, of course, there might be a chance of a slight leak, and the nappy can be oversaturated, and with a really huge poo that has nowhere to go, which I think does happen at that weaning stage in particular, then you will probably still have the occasional leak. But my experience is that actually we have less leaks of the cloth nappies, and so I'm not having the daily experience of having to put all of her clothes in the wash. And that used to happen with our eldest a lot when he was this age, wasn't it?
It did, yeah. And I think that's, like Sarah said there, the leaks are different to what they are in disposable. So sometimes, like we said, you will get a leak or sort of a bit of a spillage with cloth sometimes, even when they do a very large, just there. But the thing is, it tends to be a little bit comes out the side, and maybe needs to put the bottoms in the wash or something like that. But on the few times where we have put her in disposables, it tends to be that you get that common leak of a punami where it explodes and it goes up the back, and it'll come out the thighs, and it's just all over the place. So the leaks are very different, and again, it's because of the different amount of things you can put into these with the boosters to help absorption and everything, and they just contain so much more.
It's so much gentler on the skin as well. And I think that the thing I noticed as well is like the appearance of a poo, like a runny, exclusively breastfed poo, in a cloth nappy is that it sucks it in and it looks less. Whereas it's like, what I've noticed when you get the leaks with a disposable, it can be like a ribbon when you open it up.
It really can. It can be a nightmare just to kind of get rid of the disposable. And so, in our experience, like I said, we would definitely, in hindsight, wish we had started sooner. There's absolutely that fear factor, and when you first start and you look at it, it can look overwhelming. But actually, if you watch a few videos, read a little bit about it, then the guides, it's easier than you'd think it would be. I mean, our toddler tends to teach me what needs to go into what, and he knows now.
He does. He tells you which booster and everything. So, no, you need to put it like this. And if we ever use like the disposable catchers on top, he'll go, you need a poo catcher. And he very much lectures, doesn't he? A fleece line and a poo catcher. And he's very much, this is what you need and that's what you need.
Exactly. So if our toddler, who's less than 3 years old, can kind of get to grips with it, then anyone can get to grips with it. And like I said, there is a learning curve, but...
And I would say that's more cultural, because I think actually cloth isn't more complicated than disposables, it's just different. And I think if we go back to those basics and it was more normalised using cloth, then I think that we wouldn't necessarily have that sort of sense of it being scary. What do we know? We wouldn't think it was scary, because we just know, what works, and that knowledge be shared. Whereas we've sort of got a bit it's been culturally normalised to sticking a baby in a disposable, not caring about the chemicals that go in, not caring about the landfill, and we just very much distance ourselves from that as a society, I think.
Absolutely.
And I think really and truly there are certain tricks as well. It's like, I think there could be stages with the cloth, but as you also experience with disposables, is that certain bits that you have, obviously you can have the birth potty, so you don't have to worry about getting next size up the way you do with disposables. But it's just things like, what I've learned is that, say, microfiber is associated with that newborn stage, but one of the things we've really learned, and I've written an article about this which is on our webpage and the blog, is that microfiber isn't just a newborn thing, and actually I'd more favour natural fibres on a newborn nappy. But I think that actually when you reach that toddler stage, you need something like microfiber alongside a natural fibre, especially if your child is a heavier wet. And I think having a 2-year-old, if we just put purely in, say, a hemp inset, what our experience is that sometimes it just weaves too fast for the hemp to absorb. Whereas what you find is if you have something like microfiber, bamboo microfiber mix, we quite like that style of insert, or like a bamboo charcoal insert, you have that on top of, say, a hemp, then that will then absorb really, really rapidly, and catch the wee and give it that time for them, say, something that's more absorbent like hemp to absorb more time. So you have like a combination that works really well. And I think that's one of the things that we've learned, is that I know that I've seen lots of nappies where it'll say, oh yeah, no microfiber, and microfiber can be really demonised. I think the danger that I'm seeing, having looked at both ends of the spectrum now, is that people have that early stage when they first get into cloth, might have a newborn, have lots of nappies with microfiber, and think, oh well, my child isn't able to cope with just a microfiber, and so I need natural fibres. And then it gets to a point further down the line, I've ended up having this conversation with lots of people who are then finding their babies are sort of over 6 months born, or even get to 18 months, so suddenly the natural fibres alone aren't absorbent enough. In that, well, they will be absorbent enough, but what will happen is you'll get like a flooding leak. So the toddler or the older baby will just weave so quickly that then the hemp or bamboo on its own just simply cannot absorb that quickly.
Exactly, yeah. So like I said, there's hacks and tricks and everything you can do that will make these work for you. And again, that's one of the great things about cloth, is it's flexible in your child, whereas disposables is really a one-size-fits-all. These are flexible, so if you have a child that is a heavy wetter, you've got tips that you can use to get around it. There's all sorts of things that you can do, so in that respect they're good. So I mean, in summary, like we said, we would, our experience so far has been really good, and this is from somebody, so Sarah was very much keen to get into this and really wanted to do it, did a lot of research, and I would kind of went along for the ride and didn't expect it to last that long.
You thought it was a bit of a joke at first, didn't you?
Yeah, exactly. So coming from somebody who really expected this to be an absolute nightmare, Actually, you know what? I think it's fantastic, and I'll be doing most of the childcare come January, and I'll be continuing with these. So, you know what? I was very anti-cloth, now very much bought into it, and it just works. It saves money, it works, it's good for the environment, and once you get your head around that initial learning curve, then you know I think it's fantastic.
Okay, so I think that's pretty much us.
That's it, yeah. So, you know, as always, thanks for watching. Head over to the Facebook page or Instagram page as well if you want to chat. Put any comments in the comments below, and hit the like and subscribe button. And we'll be back soon with other videos as well. If you've got anything that you want us to cover, any ideas, anything you want to know about cloth, you know, let us know, and we can do videos around that. Again, tailor that experience for you.
Okay, yes, thank you very much, and see you soon.
Yeah, ta-ra for now.
Bye.